Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with the Great War. It's on to week 221. Time ticks ever downward. The Battle of the Selle and Ludendorff resigns. Got him. Now, before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. Would love if you join the Discord and follow me over at Twitch. And please do go check out the gaming channel here on a YouTube. Yada, yada, yada. I've been forgetting to say that at the beginning of these videos for I think like the last couple weeks or something. Oh well. Um I wonder if Ludendorff is actually he himself is resigning because he's like, "Oh, I'm such a failure," or if he's resigning because the Kaiser was like, "Fucking resign, bitch." I don't know. Let's find out.
He's been in many ways a military dictator of Germany for more than a year. But this week,
Yeah.
the power of Quartermaster General Erich Ludendorff breaks. I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to the Great War. Last week, the Allies finally overran the Hindenburg Line, Germany's powerful Western Front defenses. The Allied breakthrough on the Macedonian and Palestine fronts
Y'all remember when the Germans were like 40 miles out from Paris?
continued, and American President Woodrow Wilson rejected an armistice proposal from the German Chancellor. Though that did not end the back and forth over conditions for such an end to hostilities. On October 12th, the German government accepted a condition of Wilson's: complete withdrawal of troops from France and Belgium. However, on October 10th, the steamer Leinster was torpedoed and sunk in the Irish Sea. 501 people lost their lives. The hysteria this provoked in the United States was like the sinking of the Lusitania all over again. Now, anti-German hysteria in the US was already huge by this time anyhow, and Wilson had been repeatedly criticized for his gentle tone in his responses to the Germans. And with only a small majority in Congress and midterm elections coming up November 5th, his Democrats could well soon lose control of the war situation. But that sinking made the Allies double down and toughen peace terms. It also allowed Wilson to write a new note to Berlin demanding an end to U-boat warfare, attacking the threat of the German military elite, saying the militarist government must be deposed and a constitutional one begun before any armistice, but also saying that now armistice terms were not going to be settled with him, nor with the other allies all acting together, but by the commanders in the field. Wilson had taken himself out of the game. British Prime Minister David Lloyd George worried that if an armistice gave the Germans a respite, they might reorganize and recover. He raised for consideration the question as to whether the actual military defeat of Germany and the giving to the German people a real taste of war was not more important from the point of view of the peace of the world than a surrender at present time when the German armies were still on.
Oh, that's fucked up. That's that's like a war crime. Well, I mean, they've already been. I mean, any targeting of civilians is actually a war crime, but like, dude, that's fucked up. He's like, yeah, you know what? What if we keep this war going, get more people killed, people that, have no say in their government as opposed to our, right? Like, the German people don't have anywhere near as much say as the French people or the average British person inside of their respective countries, right? Because the French and the British are, for the most part, democracies. France at this point more so than Britain, because I think the king still held some decent sway over things at this point in time, in Britain, but like obviously still like prime minister was an elected position, voted position. Wow. Damn, that's just messed up.
On foreign territory. But what did the German high command think? Well, Grand Admiral Tirpitz wrote to Chancellor Max von Baden that they should reinforce the Western Front and continue the submarine campaign. And on the 17th...
Reinforce the Western Front with what? I don't think they've got anything left to reinforce with.
There was a gathering of the Crown Council. The Kaiser asked Ludendorff what they should tell Wilson. And Ludendorff now said, unlike a couple weeks ago, that they should continue to fight. He did not think an Allied breakthrough was likely, and anyhow, in a month or so, winter would bring action in the field to a halt. If they withdrew to a line that was based on Antwerp and the River Meuse, they could plan a spring offensive of their own.
Oh my God. No.
Retake all the lost parts of Belgium. German Minister of War Heinrich Scheuch figured he could get maybe 600,000 army reinforcements, but also...
Where?
A note of realism here, that if the oil supply from Romania were cut off, the army could only fight for 6 weeks. And what, at this point, could really prevent the Allied Army of the Orient, now moving up through the Balkans, from making it to Romania? Austria-Hungary? By this point, units of the various nationalities in the empire were leaving their army and marching home. Ludendorff was pretty irrational during this meeting and threatened to resign if the other generals even got to air their opinions. He also demanded that the U-boat campaign continue in direct defiance of Wilson. The Kaiser agreed to this, but Max, who'd only been chancellor for days, did not. He used Ludendorff's tried and true tactic, threatening to resign if Wilson's terms were not accepted. And it was actually Max who won the day. Letting him go so soon after attaching importance to the creation of his liberal government was impossible. In so doing, he broke Ludendorff's power at a single stroke.
I like this Max von Baden guy. Hopefully he doesn't do anything terrible. I really... he doesn't do anything fucked up, does he? Right? Isn't like, you know, come one of those people, the symbol. You know who I'm talking about? The little mustache, little mustache man. Doesn't become one of them, right? I really do not know.
Yep. And when Crown Prince Ruprecht, in charge of the Army Group North on the Western Front, sent a warning that if there was no armistice soon, then Germany would be invaded, he sent it to Max, not Ludendorff. And things were certainly looking grimmer and grimmer for the Germans on the Western Front. On the 14th came another big Allied attack in Flanders under Belgian King Albert, with American bombers flying deep into the enemy communication lines. In 5 days, they advanced 30 kilometers, took 12,000 prisoners and 550 big guns. But this was bigger than that maybe sounds. The German Navy evacuated Ostend and Zeebrugge. On the 17th, the Belgians entered Ostend. The British occupied Lille without firing a shot. The Allies, in fact, pushed up to the Dutch border. But they were attacking along the whole front. On the 17th, the Battle of the Selle began. This was against the Hermann position defense line. German Chief of Staff Paul von Hindenburg thought this was vital to hold to help during armistice negotiations. The Selle River itself was a big tank obstacle. There was marshland around it, and of course, the German artillery and machine guns on the eastern side were nothing to sneeze at. So, instead of any sort of Amiens surprise, the British were going to just bomb the hell out of it. For 2 days, they hammered it with 1,320 guns, concentrating on the German artillery and communication lines. At 5:20 a.m. on the 17th, 4 British and 2 American divisions went over the top, setting up floating bridges on a 16-kilometer front south of Les Cateaux. Progress was made in spite of heavy opposition, and Les Cateaux captured by the evening. As the week ended, the British Fourth Army, assisted by the French First Army on the right, continued to advance, hoping to push the Germans back to the Sambre-Oise Canal. Further to the east, the Americans launched a new attack on the Meuse-Argonne front the 14th. This still fails to reach the Kriemhilde-Stellung, the main German defense there. But over the next few days, the Americans finally managed to take the highest points of the ridge, Côte d'Armorié and Romagna. The Kriemhilde-Stellung fell the 16th, and the Americans had finally achieved their objectives of September 26. They had now broken the main German positions and faced one final defensive line, the Freie Stellung, before they could break out. American Commander John Pershing also had done a major reorganization, creating the American Second Army under Lieutenant General Robert Bullard.
He just has a face that's looks like you've seen it before, but like you're not at all certain how you could have seen that face before or where.
with Hunter Liggett now commanding the First Army. Pershing was in command of the Army Group. And another Allied front, one that we have not heard much from lately, was going to heat up soon.
Oh.
After beating back the Austrians at the Battle of the Piave, Italian Army Chief of Staff Armando Diaz had been...
Why the fuck is he just posing with a fucking statue, dude?
...been pressured by Allied Supreme Command to launch his own offensive, but he stuck to limited attacks, contending that the Austrians were still too strong. He was thinking he'd have to be ready for a German offensive in the winter, like last year, and his own one in the spring of 1919. But things had seriously changed by this time. Bulgaria was out of the war, which exposed Austria to a lot of danger from the south. Austria-Hungary looked like it might break up anyhow, and since Germany and Austria had both publicly requested armistices, Diaz was now committed to an assault. The idea was to attack on the Piave River between Papadopoli Island and the Monte Grappa before advancing on the Livenza and to Vittorio Veneto. The main attack would be the Italian 8th Army, supported by the Franco-Italian 12th Army and the Anglo-Italian 10th Army on the left and the right. Italian and Allied divisions had been by now transferred from the Asiago Plateau to the Piave. The Allies had 57 divisions and 7,700 guns. The Austrians 55 infantry and 6 cavalry divisions and 6,145 guns. So in terms of numbers, it wasn't a huge difference, but the Austrians had not really recovered from the summer and were even contemplating a general retreat to within their own borders. Still, it didn't seem like it would be an easy operation. I mean, the Piave is like a mile wide, and though shallow in a lot of places, the water's icy and there were really tough currents. In fact, the start date of October 16th was postponed because continuous rain had raised the river to an alarming level. But that same day, Austro-Hungarian Emperor Karl announced the transformation of the Austrian half of his empire into a confederation, and things were moving so fast all over that High Command was worried the war would end before they could act, so the attack would go off soon, whatever the conditions. By soon, I mean next week. As for Karl's announcement, he offered federal freedom to Czechs, Slovaks, Poles, Croats, Slovenes, Serbs, and Romanians. But he was kind of behind the curve, and his offer was rejected.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit there, Emperor Karl.
Rejected by American Secretary of State Robert Lansing, who said that autonomy in the empire was no longer enough. Back on the 5th, there was a formation of a National People's Council of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. On the 7th, in Warsaw, still occupied by the Germans, a regency council that had been under German control declared a new Polish independent state, but it had competition from 2 other such groups in Krakow and Lublin. The Ukrainians, who did not want to lose East Galicia to a new Poland, established a national council of their own in Lviv, and fighting broke out between Ukrainians and Poles in the region. On the 14th in Paris, the Allies recognized the Czechoslovak National Council, exiles led by Tomáš Masaryk, as the provisional government of a future Czechoslovakia. Karl's empire, such as it was, seemed destined to be broken apart after hundreds of years. And it seemed like it wasn't going to be attacked by just Italians either. In the Balkans, on the 12th, the Serbs captured Niš, and the French occupied Mitrovica. 2 days later, the Italians took the Albanian capital Durazzo. By the end of the week, Greece was cleared of Bulgarians. The Montenegrins had risen against the occupying Austrians, and half of Serbia had been cleared of...
Still, what was done to Greece was fucked up. Dude, that was... What Greece had to go, like, oh.
Enemy forces. Also, the last German troops had left Bulgaria. The Germans were leaving everywhere, it seems. General Wilhelm Groener reported that over 200,000 and possibly up to 1 million troops were missing from the various theaters of war. It was no longer possible to keep track. A great many of those missing had simply deserted. And that was the week. Allied advances in the West and the Balkans, plans for new action on the Italian front, a proposal from Karl that seems to be too little too late, and harsher terms for an armistice in the face of unending submarine warfare. Also, the death toll from the Spanish flu was rising. Martin Gilbert writes that in London, 2,225 people died within a week. This was more than all the deaths there from Zeppelin raids and air raids in the 4 years of the war combined. And Erich Ludendorff loses his authority. That's a big one. He had orchestrated the gain of hundreds of thousands of square kilometers of territory, but it was now being taken in the field or demanded as conditions of armistice. And he was no longer in control of Germany. But who was? Max, the Kaiser, Hindenburg, the Reichstag? I have no idea. No, I really have no idea. If you'd like to learn more about Erich Ludendorff, you can click right here for our double bio special episode about him
And that was the Battle of the Selle. Ludendorff resigns. I can't believe I didn't think of that nickname sooner. It's a good one. I'm proud of it. The Great War Week 221. Nothing to add here at the end of this video. Oh man, it's a couple for us, for our timeline, not the Great War series. We just got a couple weeks left of this. Just a couple more weeks and then it's over. And I've done it. And then I've done it. Yeah. That was the Great War Week 221. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.